Jujutsu Kaisen is an anime about this young high schooler who doesn't really have a purpose in life and lives day by day without a clear vision for his future. He's perfectly talented athletically, but certainly doesn't apply himself to the best of his ability. One day, he witnesses the death of a loved one who, before dying, asks in his death wish for the main character to actually do something in his life. During all of this, he has an encounter with the supernatural, and as a result of this encounter, gains an incredibly rare power that allows him to defeat the imminent threat that is present. However, due to gaining this power, the authority figure responsible for eliminating supernatural threats becomes wary of our main character and as a result wishes to employ him as another method of supernatural elimination. Now, this sounds eerily similar to another anime that I watched about a year ago. Chainsaw Man is an anime about this young high schooler who doesn't really have a purpose in life and lives day by day without a clear vision for his future. He's perfectly talented in demon slaying, but certainly doesn't apply himself to the best of his ability. One day, he witnesses the death of a loved one who, before dying, asks in his death wish for the main character to actually do something in his life. During all of this, he has an encounter with the supernatural, and as a result of this encounter, gains an incredibly rare power that allows him to defeat the imminent threat that is present. However, due to gaining this power, the authority figure responsible for eliminating supernatural threats becomes wary of our main character and as a result wishes to employ him as another method of supernatural elimination. Look, by itself, I will be treating season 1 of Jujutsu Kaisen for the rest of this video as your stock standard shonen anime. I think it's a solid 7 out of 10, but in comparison to Chainsaw Man, which is a very similar show which follows the same basic premise, JJK pales in comparison in a couple of areas. Oh, and also this is your one and only spoiler warning for the video. The first of these areas is the consistency and tone that both series have. Let's take episode 6 of Jujutsu Kaisen for example. The next threat that Itadori has to face is established with their absolutely brutal power being shown off, alongside how shocking these demons' attitudes are towards humans. However, in the same episode, we have this visual gag featuring Itadori being depressed that he can't pull off any magical techniques. Then afterwards, he starts watching a bunch of movies as a form of training his control over cursed energy. So, I do hope I've highlighted how this anime is just really goofy sometimes, and it's difficult to take any of these characters seriously, especially in the first 12 episodes when we're just starting to become familiar with them. It's the same problem with Spy Family, where as much as I love the pro-natalist messaging, Spy Family also doesn't know what it's doing in terms of how seriously we should take each of its characters. The tone and Jujutsu Kaisen's portrayal of its characters is just so inconsistent, unfortunately, compared to Chainsaw Man. Each of these characters have been shown to be completely capable of taking on a threat, but sometimes they act a little bit too goofy. Yes, Denji and Power basically act like children, and yes, Himeno is there to act as comic relief, but it's not done in the same cartoony way that Jujutsu Kaisen does. Furthermore, there seems to be a purpose in Chainsaw Man in portraying these characters as being less serious. In the case of Denji and Power, it's to demonstrate their personalities and how unhuman they are. In the case of Himeno, it's to build up our sympathies towards her so that when that episode comes up, we actually care about her. Unlike in Jujutsu Kaisen, where unfortunately this means that I feel like if anything happens to any of these characters, I really don't think I would care because this anime doesn't know what it's doing with its tone. There's also the inconsistency in aesthetic. Chainsaw Man, of course, has that feel to it because it adheres to this really muted color palette, and you can see that there's a great attention to detail in everything that is being done in this anime. The reason why there's so many scenes in Chainsaw Man that stand out and are memorable is because the way that a particular scene is constructed, to the choice of music, to the use of silence, and those careful choices in framing and perspective all culminate in these standout moments throughout these 12 episodes. While in Jujutsu Kaisen, again, there's a reason why I say that this is a stock standard shonen anime, and it's primarily because most of the story is driven by its fight scenes. Its inconsistency in style doesn't help either, and it results in season 1 of JJK becoming a very forgettable anime. Another big problem with JJK is its poor use of flashbacks. Look, I've praised Soso no Freeman for its use of flashbacks because its flashbacks are perfectly natural. They are dependent on a particular location that the characters find themselves in, or are related to the situation that the characters are currently dealing with. Similarly, in Chainsaw Man, flashbacks are shown during moments either not in the middle of action, as in during quiet exposition moments, or during moments before a situation arises. Himeno's flashbacks, for example, to her old partners, and Aki's nostalgic flashbacks both occur while each of the characters are out of danger, and it's in the middle of banter in the case of Himeno, or during silent contemplation in the case of Aki. The difference with Jujutsu Kaisen is that the flashbacks shown are so contrived and shown to us right before these big showdowns between the characters or before they're about to fight. Yes, it gives us a reason for us to care about these characters, but surely you can give these flashbacks not right before they're about to fight, or you can tell these characters' backstories in more natural ways. However, the difference in the motivation of each protagonist is actually something that I give Jujutsu Kaisen for. Denji's motivation is simply to live a normal life, and I'm very sympathetic to that sort of story. Coming from a migrant background, there's just so many things that I take for granted now that I'm living in Australia compared to when I lived in the Philippines. On the macro level, that feeling of safety and stability, but even on the everyday level, that guarantee even of 3 meals a day, was something that I didn't have as a very young person living in the Philippines. So, Chainsaw Man's commentary on being grateful for what one has in the moment, whether it be family, friends, and what possessions we have now, it's really cool to see how Denji navigates this. Furthermore, his quest in what to find meaning in is also really cool, with the anime strongly coming against hedonism. However, there's also one element of Chainsaw Man which unfortunately disqualifies it from being a Christian anime, and as much as I really do appreciate this anime's messaging, this is the one thing that's holding it back for me to recommend it. I love the narrative, and everything about its animation and visual storytelling is absolutely beautiful, but in some parts of this anime, it is very sexually driven. Look, I get the point that Chainsaw Man is making, that sexual gratification is a very hollow pursuit. However, the ensuing level of fan service present in the show is just far too much. So, I like the message, but the amount of imagery present, which is not uplifting, is something that I would caution if you were to watch this anime. Though, if you do want to hear more about how Jujutsu Kaisen is far better in the motivation of its protagonist and how this contributes to it being a Christian anime, you can watch the video for it right here.